Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to show you a super cool checkmate in 2 problem for white. So if you look at white's pieces, they are all on their home squares except for the missing knight on g1 and rook on h1. So your job is to find the one sequence that is a checkmate in 2, not checkmate in 3, not checkmate in 4, or any others. Only checkmate in 2. Try to see if you can find it. I recommend pausing the video, see if you can track down the move. And while you're doing that, I would like to quickly encourage you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Half of the income that I earn in this channel goes directly to charity, so every subscriber helps me out so much. Okay, so the way I started thinking about this is I looked at each piece, and I looked at what squares they attacked. So this knight, let's start with the rook. This rook, a2, a3, a4, a5, a6, obviously all these. Let's talk about the ones right near the king, for just simplicity. What about this knight? This knight attacks this one, so we'll color that twice. It attacks this one, and that's about the only ones they're attacking around this king. What about the queen? It attacks this, and this one is attacked twice. What about the bishop? This is this one. I skipped the bishop. So let's make that green. 3 times attacked, 2 times attacked, 1 time attacked. And then this bishop cuts right across here. We'll just take these out because the king doesn't have those. So really this square is attacked 3 times, this one is attacked twice, this one is attacked once, the red is attacked once. So in other words, this king has an escape square. That's what I'm trying to establish here. Okay, so why am I bringing that up? Well, I'm trying to mate the king in 2. Which means I need to cut off its escape square, and then I have to work to see if I can give checkmate. So the way I thought about it is I have to find something that will land this square red. In other words, attack this square. How do I do that? So a couple of first thoughts was, what if you bring this queen to d4? That's a check, and I'm covering this. It's a good idea, but knight c4, and I do not have a mate in 1. I can make this move, it might look like a cool check, but remember, this knight can move backwards, and that would be very bad. Okay, so it can't be queen d4, it's the right idea, but after this, even if you want to go in for a check like this, or like this, it doesn't quite work. Both of these are okay because this knight is pinned, but it's not going to be checkmate because they can always run up the board. And I'm looking for checkmate in 2, remember. Okay, so this is still the square I want to cover. So I thought about other ways with the queen. What if I put the queen maybe here? So queen c2. The idea is I'm blocking this square. Well, this pesky defense of knight c4 continues to be kind of annoying because no matter what I do next, this king will be able to run. So unless I do a move like this, in which case they can't go here, but that just can be taken, or the king just runs this way. So I'm trying to find a way to attack this square and be clever with my move. Okay, what about the bishop? This bishop on c1, I can put it here on e3. I'm defending this. And it seems like this knight c4 move doesn't really impact this one. And this would be mate if that defense was played. But knight c4 is not the only defensive resource for black. They can play d4. And if I take this, that's not mate, they can block. Remember, I'm looking for a mate in 2. You're right to think that this is mate. That's mate in 3. Okay, so you have to really optimize your pieces here. That's why I like these puzzles. Mate in 2 is fun because all this beautiful complexity exists in this one puzzle. Okay, so this bishop can't really go here. What about here? Well, if it goes to a3, the idea is to cut the square off. That's a great idea, but now by doing that, all of these squares that were defended multiple times are now defended only once by the queen here, and this a5 square is not defended at all. So the only move, if you look here, the only move to go with is king a5, and no mate in 2 exists here. Crazy, right? Because even though this looks nice and tempting, that move is not mate because they can run back up the board, and it will be mate in 3, but not mate in 2. So what is the move? let's share the move. So if you want one more second to think about it, take a moment. If not, I'm going to share this move right now. Okay. The winning move. The one and only move. Rook to a5. Look at that move. It's amazing. So let's talk about the obvious. This rook is hanging. It can be taken with the king. It can be taken with the knight. Let's talk with the king. So let's say you take that. Okay, what did you just do by taking that? Well, look at this diagonal and this diagonal. They're both cut off. And the only thing that this king can do is run out via b4, maybe c5. So the mate in one that exists here would be bishop d2. And look at that, killer diagonal checkmate. Okay, if the king does not take a5, maybe the knight takes, what do we do now? Well, again, it's just so cool. So this was my out square, remember, when I played bishop a3 check. Now this square is not accessible to the king, therefore this is mate. And this knight holds down c3. MVP goes to the knight. Pretty amazing, right? Okay, what other moves are there? What other defenses are there? So one thought you might have is, I could just ignore the threat. Maybe instead of moving this knight here, taking the rook, what if I move the knight to c5? Good idea, because you're preventing this queen a4 mate. Maybe that's the thought. Well, you have two mates in this position. You have bishop d2 mate, like this, a nice little x-ray defense of the rook. Or the other mate, which is a normal pattern for the rook and the bishop, is this mate. Really good to know this pattern if you're trying to get good at these patterns here. See how the queen's covering that and the knight's covering these? Really good pattern to know. Okay. So if I play rook a5, we just established the king can't take, the knight can't take, this knight can't ignore, and go there. What about, instead of covering this square with your king kind of just hanging here, what if they play knight a4? That defends this square. Good idea, but I can just take it. It's mate. Everything's covered. Okay, what other defense is there? What if they just wait? What if they just say, I'll move the pawn? Now what? You're going to check me? Because if you check me, I can try to do something else. You can't go queen a4 because I have that covered as black. You can't really go, what else? You can't go bishop a3 because then I'll take your rook. Well, the move that wins here, like I showed earlier, you have this rook b5 or bishop d2. I would play bishop d2 personally because I like this pattern. Okay. So what other move can I really suggest? We talked about this knight. We talked about this knight. What if you play knight c4? Does that change anything? I don't think it changes anything. Maybe you already showed that. If I did, sorry about that. But that's pretty much all the variations, right? Am I missing any? You play a move like this, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop well, it does stop the bishop move, but it doesn't stop the rook move, right? I did miss that one. So there are plenty of variations. Feel free to mess with it. If they make a nothing move, like they put their knight back, something like this, the threat, the real standing threat is queen a4 mate, right? That's the main threat. So you have to defend the square, and no matter how you choose to defend it, by either waiting with this knight or moving with this knight, it's not adequate because I either have a bishop move or a rook move to win the game. But yeah, that is it for this video. If you enjoy the content, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps me out so much, helps out charity. But yeah, thank you so much. Bye.